There are 5 types of fathers that you're going to find in life. There are 5 types of fathers. Number 1, we have absent fathers. Absent fathers. And these can either be physically or emotionally. You can have a father that is not there physically, but you can also have a father who is available but not emotionally available. Number 2, we have abusive fathers. Abusive fathers. Abusive fathers. And many abusive fathers end up producing terrified children, because the memory of that child is the memory of chaos. We have abusive fathers. Number 3, we have silent fathers. Silent fathers. The pattern of parenting is instruction, then discipline. The pattern of parenting is instruction, then discipline. When discipline comes before instruction, that is punishment. When discipline comes before instruction, that is punishment. When discipline comes after instruction, that is now discipline. There are many children who cannot relate with their parents because their relationship is out of discipline and not instruction. A child you have not instructed, you have no right to discipline. That this is one of the things that is creating a rift between parents and children. Because in the synthesis psychologically of a child, that child will receive it as discipline, as punishment, and that will be translated as hate. I know parents who do everything. They provide, they pay school fees, but they don't have a relationship with their children because money can never raise your children. It can facilitate, but it can never raise. Children are raised by words. And in those words, there must be counsel, there must be instruction, there must be affirmation, there must be correction. Children are raised by words. There must be counsel. The first teacher and the first authority is a parent before a teacher. There must be counsel. There must be, correction in your words. There must be correction in your words. There must be a language of direction. There must be affirmation, especially men that are raising boys and raising girls. Some children hear the right things from the wrong mouths. And that's what sometimes you call peer pressure. Some children are celebrated by the wrong audience. That's why we can call them, hard-headed. The problem is when you hear the right word from the right mouth, it is very powerful. But when the right words come from the wrong source, they still have impact. If my wife looks at me and tells me, you are beautiful. Oh, not beautiful, sorry. You are handsome. And another woman tells me you are handsome. The way I will hear the words of my wife are different from the way I will hear the words of that woman. I will weigh the words from my wife as love, but I will weigh the words from the other woman as flattery. Are you getting me? So the source of affirmation, looking at your boy, looking at your girl, and telling them you are beautiful, you are handsome, you are bold, you are confident, you are the best. I was even told nowadays in school, they don't tell them very bad or very poor. They give them smiley faces. Because they've discovered that a person grows where they are celebrated, and when the right words are applied, that person can become anything. There is a part in your mind, clinicians can tell us, that it conforms your body to the words that are perpetually repeated to you. There is a part in your mind that acts as a center of saving. That if I keep on telling you you are bad, you are poor, and you believe it and you affirm it to yourself, actually you will become it. Because that part begins to condition the whole system into what you are declaring. So we don't need silent fathers. We need fathers that can speak words of affirmation, direction, wisdom, counsel, correction. Number 4, we have protective fathers. They call them the helicopter fathers. They are in all over your space. You receive a phone call, they are there. Who's that? When in your room, they are there. What are you doing? Helicopter fathers. Overprotective. You are perpetually a suspect. Can I be real with you? Some of the helicopter fathers are actually projecting their own fears. If your dad was a drunkard and you enter the age of 18, the first day you come home late, he will project his fear. Umetoka kunywa. He is not trying to tell you he's suspecting you, but he's coming from a fear. You cannot afford to be like me. Protective fathers, helicopter. Allow me to tell you this. There is a space in the life of a child that you must allow that child to grow by themselves. Let them not come to church because they want to make you happy. Let them not do things because they want to make you happy. Because the day they will outgrow yourself, they will outgrow you, and they want to make themselves happy, everything they did was drama. I know now I'm not a friend of parents, but an eagle, when it's teaching an eaglet to fly, it picks the eaglet from the ground, goes up in the sky and releases it, but at a distance where it's watching, so that the eaglet cannot get an accident. But for the eaglet to know how to fly, it must be exposed to the winds and it must be left alone. That is why we have a problem of kamama and kababa, because even at 30 you are still trying to helicopter them. A child is working, you still want to know what they have eaten. Kama wamekula ama hawajakula, let them know life. Because a generation of weak men will mess up everything. They will scatter. Number 5, we have present fathers. Present fathers. Remember, presence is better than presence. Presence is better than presence. Children don't remember what you bought them. They remember what you did with them. Memories are created by presence, not presence. So when we look at the life of David, we realize that David had a problem with a biological father. How can you release a 16-year-old to go in a bush full of bears and a bush full of lions to look after a small flock of animals? That's an abusive father. But when we read some historical biblical literature, they actually try to show us that indeed David could have been the child of another woman. The day Samuel came in the house of David, he requested that all the sons be brought. And Jesse brought 7 sons that were working in the military of Saul, meaning that those sons were well raised. In the Asian culture, if a son is working as a royal military, was a well-raised and trained son. It is like modern day masters and PhD, a child you have invested in. So Jesse had 7 sons whom he had invested in, but there was one son, the last born, the 8th one, who there was no investment, but he had given him the list of the works in the farm where there are lions and bear. That was a suicide mission. So that if the son dies, the father will come and say, I was not responsible. It was the lion and the bear. But when we look at the paradox of scripture, the very place where the son was released, that became the place of training. Because there is a God who turns whatever the enemy had purposed for evil, there is a God that turns it for good. So David does not have an advantage of a biological father. He's being raised by an abusive father. I am speaking this because the era of our generation is in parenting and broken homes. And when I speak of a father, I don't just mean male. That name father is a grace in the spirit. You could be a woman, but you are delegating fatherly responsibilities. And the problem is, there is a generation raised by the scars of their parents and the fears and the insecurities of their parents. You know, Pastor Jimmy sits here. It's like people bring children to Vault to dump them. We have had those statements. Pastor, mtoto amenishinda nataka nikuachie. Mimi na tu kupata mtoto naona niachiaje. And then when we sit down with the son, we actually discover the person who needs to come to this vault is the son and the mother. Because what the son is hearing or what the daughter is hearing, if the mother and the father were to hear, we are going to have a very healthy generation. But being old is not a sign of being mature. Fools can also grow old. So please let us accept that we can be lacking in some things. Remember, the way you are raised is not the perfect template of parenting. We are in a different time, a different generation, a different season. The Gen Zs are very opinionistic, but there is a misconception that they are lazy. I want to tell you, many Gen Zs are hardworking. What they don't like is the traditional order. They just want to know, must we do this thing the same way, yet we are not getting results? It is a lie. Some of these young people, wanajituma, they are working very hard. But there is a misconception because they don't work like us, they are not working. Now you are not ready for Gen Alpha. These ones know their rights before they read the Constitution. And I tell you, we have a long way to go. I discovered I'm growing old. When my son one day told my mother, "Are you the wife? Why are you shouting at me?" And then there was an emphasis, "And you keep on shouting every morning." So I'm keeping a record. And that time, it's not that she was shouting. No. The young boy relaxes. He wants to take all his time. The school bus is about to come. But he's, you know, at 3 years, who tells you that you can answer an authority? At 3. But the young boy knows his rights. One day they colluded, wakaficha mwiko. They knew this is the tool that has been messing our peace. So they colluded and they head to the blacksmiths.